Good morning, everyone. We'll give a couple of more minutes and then we'll start up.
Good morning. Hemant, are you there?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, ma'am. Tell me.
Yeah, I'm getting another error while creating OCI account.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I'm getting an error while creating OCI account.
Okay. So this is
It's
when,
not accepting my card.
okay. So do you have any account? I mean, with the OCI previously, by any chance
No,
you have,
no.
it's the first time you're
no.
creating, right?
Yeah,
So just make sure that the address,
yeah. I tried with the same address.
what you are getting in your statement, the statement address, have you matched with the lines exactly with the same?
I didn't get it.
Whatever the statement, when you have the credit card, right? You have a statement which you'll get monthly statements. So in that statements, you
Mm,
have the address. So it's matching that address, or sometimes it have different
Yeah, it's the
differences.
same address.
Okay.
It's the same address. Uh,
Usually it should allow you to create the account. It's only based on the credit card address details. It sometimes it gets denied. Or if you have usually if you have someone some connections overseas, some other country, if you have some colleagues or friends over
Yeah,
there.
yeah, Hemant, I think there is a problem with we need to enable the international thing transaction.
yeah, international transaction is on.
Okay, okay.
I have shared the screenshot with I think Prasad. He
Mhm.
he told he will forward you.
Okay. Let me
Is
see
there
that
any other?
screenshot. Yeah, but usually it's only with that credit card what you are using. And if it matches the name, how you are using, and matches the address from that card, it should allow you to create the account.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's also accepting the debit card as well.
Yeah, it will also. You have
Yeah.
created it.
Yes, I have read.
Okay, so you have created successfully, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's good. Cool. So yeah, so yeah, you should be able to do it. It's only with the lines, something here and there, maybe even an extra space or comma also, maybe sometimes it might be giving an issue. Otherwise, I think you should be able to create it. So how many credits you got? You got 300 or 400?
It's in Singapore dollar.
Oh, it's in Singapore dollars. Okay. So I saw someone's getting $400 as credits,
Yes,
free credits now.
it's it's Singapore dollar. In Singapore dollar, it's showing 400.
Oh,
In
okay.
US dollars, it's
It's
showing
300.
300.
Okay, it's 300. Okay. Okay, so let's catch up like what we have done yesterday. So we started with identity and access management. We discussed about the overview of IAM. So we said that IAM is a crucial component of Oracle's cloud services that helps us to manage access to various resources and services. So within the OCI tenancy, if you don't have this access management, you'll not be able to restrict the users to manage the access for the various resources. So we have gone through the some of the slides yesterday. So we discussed what is identity, and we did a demo, created a user, and then we have created a group and created a policy, assigned this policy to that group, and we saw that how the behavior of the user in terms of creating a resource from a particular compartment. So once he is in that tenancy, once he is logged in as a new user, which we have created, how he is able to create the resources, whether he is able to do it or he is getting an error. So we saw both of that, like we have removed the user from the group, and we saw that the user is no more able to access the particular resource also, which he has created. And we also saw that when the access is back, when we have added the particular user to this group, he was able to access the instance or the VCN, whatever he has created, and then he was able to create a new resource as well. So the overall idea overview we have discussed, like all these things are which are in between are to make this user to connect to the resources. So IAM is in place to do the identity and pass it to the policies, where the access management then checks what policies are there on top of your compartments and then gives the access to the respective resources. So yeah, we have done this. We have created users in OCI, and then we have created a group in OCI, and then we have attached the policies. So the policy which we have attached is for one of the network group which we have created, and then we have added the policy to that. So now today we'll see about compartments. So what is a OCI compartment and what is all about it? So what is the main use of using the compartments? And then we will create a compartment and see how we create a nested level compartments. And then we will then go back to the same policy which we have restricted the user to create or create in a tenancy, so that we will instead of the policy allowing the user to create a tenancy, now we restrict it to a particular compartment which we are going to create. And we'll see, we log into that user and then see how the effect will be there based on the policy. So coming to the compartments, compartments are like a logical group where you can isolate the cloud resources. So if you see the screen here, so in this compartment, you can place all the resources. So this is something like a logically you are grouping a set of resources. So like if you have network resources where you create a VCNs, subnets, gateways, or all the network related resources, you create a compartment called network, and then you place all the resources under that compartment. Or if you have if you create a compartment like storage, there you place all the resources related to the storage, like block volumes or file storages or the object storages. Or if you do in a different way, like if you want to do it in a project-based compartments, like if you have different projects running in your organization, like if you have ERP projects, if you have some data warehouse projects, some other projects. So you create a compartment, like let's say EBS is a compartment for your application or any EBS applications going to that ERP project. So you create a compartmental name like ERP or EBS, or there is another compartment which is having something like analytics. So there where you create all the applications related to the analytics and keep it under that compartment, so that you can restrict the developers or the users based on the compartment. So you write a policy, access control policy uh, on top of the compartments, and you restrict the users to only do the activity under that compartment. So if your developer is a ERP comes under the ERP project, so he will only be giving, you will be only giving access to this compartment, and whenever he logs into the tenancy, he will only see these compartments only. So he will not be able to see or view the analytics compartments, which he is not supposed to do it. So you restrict them and segregate the things in such a way that you can also make use of these compartments in terms of in other ways, like if you want to calculate the complete cost of your resources based on the compartment, like for this ERP project, how much you are using, the utilization. So you can do that in cost management. You can get a filter based on your compartments and see under this ERP project, for all the resources you have provisioned, what is the total cost. So you can also make use of the compartments in a different way, like for your cost management as well, along with your access control. Like the more use cases uh, comes for the access control, and the next one comes for your cost management as well. So whenever you are going to design your environment, so based on your workloads which you are going to migrate, or if it is a new implementation entirely, so you will decide like what all your requirements are, like whether you have one workload like an ERP in this case, or you are only moving your databases. So your compartment, maybe you create a network compartment and you create a database compartment. And under that database compartment, maybe if you have different project names, you create different compartments again to separate them with one another. Or maybe if you want to differentiate, like the environments, like a production database goes under prod compartment, and non-prod, you create another compartment for non-prod. And under the non-prod, you can again then divide it like development, test, or UAT, or support, pre-prod, something like that. So you can create nested compartments and make use of these compartments to segregate your resources in such a way that you can give the access to only those compartments and restrict the users to make use of the resources under those compartments only. So it's kind of an hierarchical structure. So OCI compartments have a hierarchical structure where you can create nested compartments within other compartments, forming a tree-like organization. Like if you have the parent compartment on top of that, and you will create two child compartments. And then under that, you can again create some other compartments as you want. So it is mostly used for the isolation. So each compartment acts as a isolated boundary of resources. So this isolation provides security and helps to prevent unauthorized access between the compartments. So if you have two compartments and you want to restrict your developers to only to non-prod compartment, and maybe non-prod you want to restrict only them to access development resources, so you can do that. And you can make sure that all the resources under your production compartment are not being touched for any developer access. So you can do that, and you can do an organization like by category wise. So when you are logically grouping the resources, you can create them based on the projects, like departments, or if you have teams, any relevant criteria, you can make use of those things. And then you can manage them and monitor those resources from a high level. That will be easy for us. And as we have also discussed, like billings and quotas. So it will also come handy if you have segregated your resources in different compartments. So compartments also play a role in billing and resourcing the quotas. You can separate the budgets based on your compartment. So you can create your budgets, quotas, and you can get alerts and notifications when a particular compartment reaches this utilization. You can set some kind of alerts on top of that, and you can get some notifications based on the compartment. So that's why it is more important whenever you are doing a design, starting to the project, you design in such a way that you understand what all the workloads you are moving to the cloud, or if it is a new implementation, what will be your the complete end-to-end workload you are going to create in your tenancy. And then you go and design your compartments in such a way that you segregate the resources logically, and then it will be useful for you to in access control, as well as in limiting the services, or when you have to do a cost analysis also. And once you create a compartment, you can also move the compartment. You can do that from one parent. You can move it to a different parent. So you can do that as well. So these are some of the best practices which you have to. It's very essential for us to plan and design your compartment structure very carefully to avoid any security misconfigurations and access control issues. And if you are having to utilize the naming conventions, you have to decide with your organization structure and then align with your organization and make sure that you create these compartments as per the naming standards so that you understand easily by seeing the compartment names. So I'll give you an example as we have discussed another day. So we'll go through one of the workbook which we have. So what we generally do upfront is whenever we are starting a project, we go through an implementation workbook. So it will be something like this. And we sit down with the customer when you're as an architect, you are deciding like what all the things you have to migrate from on-premises to cloud. So then we go and sit with the customers, and then we decide like, okay, let's discuss about what all the workloads you want to move first thing. And then we get the details of if you are moving database, what is your database version, what is your database size, what is your character set of your database, what is the national set, the character set, and you have various other parameters, right? You will give a, a discovery of those. You take in an Excel sheet and do a discovery session, like what all things you want to move it first to the cloud. So you put them in an Excel sheet. It's kind of a discovery questionnaire. So you fill in those discovery questionnaire and then you will assess the things like how many compartments or how many instances, how many databases you have to create in OCI. So you'll come to a conclusion then. So once you decide like, okay, these many instances I have to create in OCI to accommodate these many servers, which I'm going to move from on premises, then you will sit down with the network admin or the project sponsor who is doing the from the customer side, or the governance team or the compliance team or the IT team. We all sit together and then decide about the naming standards, how you want to go with the namings in the before you start creating anything in the tenancy. So users is fine. A user creating a user upfront is still fine to gain the access, but creating a compartment, starting from the compartment itself, you have to make sure that you are following those naming standards to align with the complete set of project. Like the design phase itself has to be, if you have to make it smooth, you first create this workbook. We call it as implementation workbook, and then put everything in this workbook, and then move on to create the things in the OCI console. So here, what the samples here, what is given is this is something which I have created. Usually I use it in my projects. It can be anything for your in your case. You may use it in a different way also. There is no harm in doing that. It's about just how you want to name them. So here the general identifier like application naming standards. So what I said is it can be 3 or 4 characters as abbreviation. Like if you want to denote any application, we go with at least 3 or 4 characters, not more than that. So in this example, I say it's EBS. If you have OBI, OBIA, it may be OBIA or OBIEE or OEM or DB for database, something like that. And then what I'm saying is environment long identifiers. So like here, I'm denoting the environment long identifiers. Like instead of saying it as production, I'll call it as PRD or PROD. Instead of test, I'll say it as TST. and development, I'll call it as DEV. So this we decide upfront, like what will be your naming conventions denoting your environments. And if you want to go with a even less short identifiers, so if you are good with the short identifier, so my standards will be whenever I'm using anything for development, I'll use as a D at the end of that name, or T for test, or DR for disaster recovery, and P for production. So we confirm the naming standards upfront, like if it is a private, it will be PRV, or public, it will be public. So once you do all this agreement, like okay, we will go with PRD, or you say it will be TEST or PROD, we'll go with 4 characters, something like that. Then you will design the compartment names. So here you can keep this name anything as you want, but keeping it something meaningful, something understandable, will be very easy for us going forward to, even if someone comes later and he is going through the console, he will easily make it out by seeing the compartment name only. Okay, this is for the production compartment, and okay, all the EBS related resources are under this EBS folder, I mean EBS compartment. Okay, this is not the place where I have to go, so I have to go to some other folder, so my destination is not this, so I'll go back. So that way he will be able to easily make it out by seeing the name itself. So here if you see in this, what we say is account customer identifier. You'll first give the account customer identifier name. So here again, account customer identifier, maybe if your customer name is something like, let's say, if you are UnoGeeks, so your company name is UnoGeeks, and then you will use identifier as 3 characters, let's say. So I'll start with UNO. So my network name here in this case will be, let's see how I write it here is, so UNO, and then I'll say network, and then to represent it as a compartment, I'm saying compartment. And then it's just for the compartment, network compartment. So network compartment. And then if it is a security compartment, I say security compartment. Or if you have something else like, let's say, let's take the examples in this compartment. So how they have created the compartments. So here, if you see, they say they have created OCI as the standard name for the account abbreviation. But yeah, you can go with your customer name or anything. So it not related to this has to be this, but you can mention any of the naming standards you want to use. But whenever you use, make sure that you are using it in such a way that you understand the thing. So let's say if you are creating, EBS here, and EBS you have PRD compartment. So I'm saying it's an EBS compartment, and it is used for the prod. And similarly, if I'm saying EBS and I'm putting a non-prod here, so it is non-PRD compartment. So all my resources which are related to EBS and which are production resources, I will create under the EBS prod compartment, and all the non-prod related resources I'll create under this one. And similarly, I have again I have different applications like OBIA, and I'm again creating prod compartment for this and non-prod compartment for OBIA. Yeah, so in this way, you can create the high level compartments. And once you have high level compartments, so then if you see, these are the root compartments. Under the root compartment, you will create a top compartment, and then you create all this under the root. Root is nothing but the first compartment which you are getting, right? So whenever you get an account with your account name, you will get this root compartment. And then if you see under that, you have, sorry. Yeah. So under this, you can then place your resources, or if you want, you can also create additional groups or additional compartments. Like if you want under non-prod, if you have if you want to create EBS under non-prod, let's say dev, like it will be again, EBS dev compartment. I'll say EBS TST compartment, or EBS UAT compartment. So I can again divide them into 3. And even if you want to divide something like here, maybe EBS prod DB compartment, you want to differentiate one more compartment, you can go and do that. And you can do something like this, app compartment. And again, under non-prod, if you want to do EBS, it's called maybe non-PRD DB compartment. And then you put all this under this, like you always give non-prod also here, so that you follow the naming standards in such a way that you have everything in place. So this will be another sub child compartment under this. And similarly, you can also create one more app compartment, and then you can again, so you have to dev, so this may be D here, or you can just say dev test DB, dev DB, whatever you want. You can put the naming conventions in such a way that the overall thing is like to have a best practice to get a design in shape. So the compartment structure, if you are designing it carefully, so that you will be able to easily give access control to the users. And if you are utilizing this naming conventions, it will be easy for you to understand, and that's will be very smooth for us. Like here, if we see some of the naming, VCN name, we have given it as prod hyphen DRG. So this is dynamic routing gateway. And you have service gateway. For the service gateway, the naming standard is SGW service gateway. IGW is internet gateway. And if you are creating a NAT gateway, it will be NGW. So you decide the naming conventions whenever you create these resources. Your naming standards will be only, you will use something like this only. And if you see, if you are creating some applications, you will say EBST, it's for your test app01 for application. It represents easily, you can understand it's an EBS test application web server or application server. So you have different options. You can decide upfront, and you can, once you decide what will be your naming standards, then you go and create the compartments. So let's see how you create a compartment. As we have discussed, we go and create something like this. If you want, you can give some other naming standards as well. So we'll log into the console. So here, instead of this example, we create what we have designed. So we create our compartments in such a way that we go with the, as if we are implementing a new project. So yeah, so you logged into the console, and from the main menu, you will go to the identity and security. And here you'll see the compartments under the identity. So I'll click on compartments. So by default, you you'll see that you have a compartment. Let me. Okay, I've logged into a different tenancy. Let me log out from here.
So Hemant, in our project, right, they created one root compartment and then they created sub compartments.
Yeah, so a root compartment is something which you get by default whenever the tenancy is getting created. So,
Okay.
so this is by default compartment. If you go just to the compartments. Okay, yesterday I think we have created. No, this is not yesterday, but yeah. So if you see the account name, this will be your tenancy account name. And with that account name, you will get a compartment by default. Like in this case, the compartment root. So this will be your customer name. So whatever the account name you are connecting with, that will be the name followed with the root. And under this root only, you will then create all the other compartments. So whatever the compartments we are designing now, so these compartments will come under the root only. So the root is a default compartment and you will have the default user. That's what we have discussed yesterday, right? So a root is a default compartment.
So one question. So let's take, I need to provision only ATP instance for my project. So can I provision under, that ATP resource under root, or is it mandatory to create sub compartments?
See, it's not mandatory to create it, but the best practices says that it is always better to create a compartment so that you know that you are creating your ADB resources in that compartment. Maybe you name it as something like the project name or the database as a compartment name, and you place this under that compartment. So if you are putting it under the root, it will be very tough for you to manage that resources in terms of the access control or in terms of the cost. If you want to segregate it with the and differentiate with the cost, like if you want to see how much it is the utilization for this particular resource. So it's always better you create a compartment, you give some name for that. As we discussed, you discuss what should be the naming standards. It should be, and then you come up with some compartment name as we saw here. Like under the root compartment, you create a sub compartment, and that sub compartment you give some description, like here it is used for this EBS production compartment or EBS non-prod compartment. Or similarly, if you are creating that ADB, why you are creating it's creating for that project or for some team name will be there, right? So maybe you can give that name and create a compartment, and then you place the resource, whatever the ADB or ATP, whatever you're creating under that compartment. So the standard is always to create any resources under compartments, not under the root compartment. So root compartment is a top level compartment, and you cannot delete that. And I prefer you avoid creating anything under the root compartment. So it's always better for us to create sub compartments and then go and do the things what we want. So let me just log out of this. I think something. And if you see the URL, like if you want to log into your console, when you want to log in, you go with cloud.oracle.com, and then you give your account name here. So instead of doing that, if you know your account, you know your account name, right? So you can take your account name, and what you can do is you can use it as tenant equals to. So when you do tenant equals to and give your account name. So in this case, if the account name is this, you give that account name, and then you can directly use this as a bookmark, and that will take you to the IDCS login page. You will be able to use that URL for your bookmarks. So instead of going to cloud.oracle.com every time and then you can avoid one step there. Okay, so you can also, if you are not sure under which menu it is falling under, you can simply go to the search and search for the compartments. So here I'm getting compartments directly here. So I go to the compartments in other way also. So now this is our root compartment. So which is Muni OCI. So I'll create a compartment under this. So the name is network compartment. So I'll name this compartment name is network, and description is this is for network resources. So you can provide some description, and the parent compartment is always the root compartment for this. So I'm fine with this. And then you see something like namespaces, tags, and tag values. So here again, whenever you are creating any resources, as we saw even yesterday when you're creating a VCN, you have a tag key value. So this is something you will decide upfront whether you want to go with some defined tags or you will go with some non tags, like this is free from tags. So you create some defined tags in your tenancy, like if you see in this Excel, so you have some tags. So here they have created a tag called operations, and they have given some keys like environment, applications, and they have some values. So whether it is a production or whether it is a non-prod, whether it is a test, or whatever the value you want to give. So you can define a tag and attach the tag to the compartment so that these tags will be used for you to segregate your resources or to identify your resources. And in future, if you want to do a cost analysis, we will see that in cost management module also, how you will make use of tags, what is a tag is used all about. And then in that scenario, you will be able to attach the tags and make use of the tags. So let me create this compartment first. I'll go to the tag and also I'll create a tag. So I have a compartment now, which is OCI, network compartment. And let me go to the tags, and from search itself, I'm doing a tag. So that I'm going to tag namespace. So this is under tenancy management. So that comes under the governance and administration part. So if you go to it comes under the billing and cost management. No. It's under governance only. So governance, you see the tag namespace here. So either you search it or you can, if you know the navigation, you go from there. So I'll create a tag namespace. So I'll create in compartment root. So my tag namespace I'm creating under root. I'm naming it as operations. So this is my operations. The namespace is operations, and I'm just click on create tag namespace. So it needs some description. So what we have given is tags related to provisioning. Okay. Tags for OCI resources. So I'll change my root compartment here. Yeah, so this is the tag, and you see there is one more tag namespace which is created by default. Whenever the tenancy gets created, you will also see that something like Oracle tags, which is created by default. We'll go to the operations tag which we have just created. So we'll go inside this, and then you create a tag key definition. So tag key definition is nothing but whatever the name you want to give it as, whether you call it as environment, application, project, whatever it is. So it's for your understanding, for your segregation of the resources. So in this case, I'm putting it something like env, and env for That's fine. If you want to enable it for cost tracking, so you can also do it, enable it for cost tracking. So idea is to create this tags is to track the cost also, right? So we'll always go with enabling the cost tracking part. So which is the actual use case in a real-time scenario. So let me put the complete name, otherwise. Okay. And then you have some values. So I'll give some list of values upfront. So we will be able to use only these values. So these values are like it can be all development, prod, non-prod, test, support. So I'm saying all dev, test, prod, non-prod, or support, SUPP. So this is how I create a tag key definition. So I have environment and I have kept the value as list, and you have the namespaces as operations. Under namespace operation, you have one tag key definition. So you can also create multiple tag key definitions. So if you want to create application, you can create another tag key definition as application. So tag key application, and I'll select as cost tracking thing and create it. So here I'm not creating a list of values. So I've created as string. That means a user, when he's assigning a tag, he can give his own tag. Or if you want to change it, if you don't want a user to assign his own tag and you want to edit it, you can click on this or go to the action menu from here, 3 dots, and then you can click on view tag, key tag definition. And from there you edit the tag, and instead of static value, you can give some list of values like OBIE, ODI, OBIA, OEM, DB, whatever you want. So whenever you're providing a list of values, so it should be separated in a multiple, in a new line. So the values should be separated in a separate line. So values are in a different line. So that is how you create values. So these are the basic things. First, you decide the compartment names, and then you decide the tags. If you want to use the tags upfront whenever you're creating a resource. So in this case, we have decided that the compartment will be like this, and we want tags like this, which are also tracking our cost. And then you go back to the compartments again. So now you have network compartment which you have created. So this compartment, when we have created, we don't have the tag already in place, right? So if you want to edit the tag, you go to the more actions, and you can click on add tags. So you can do that anytime. You can add, delete tag at whenever you want. So from namespace, now you have a predefined tag now. So that if you click on drop down, you will see that from the tag namespace drop down. So operations is what we have created. So if you click select operations, so you have the tag key definitions what we have created. Either it's an environment or it's an application. So it's an environment in this case, it's just a compartment. So the tag key is an environment, and this is a network compartment, right? So value will be all. So you can create a production related resources, and we are saying that we will create all network related resources under this compartment. So I'm giving the value as all here. So the list of values what we have mentioned are coming here. So you cannot add any other value because this is it's a defined tag. It's not a free form tag. So if it is a free form tag, if you can give us some value here, maybe whatever the value you want, project, or you can give cost center. It's coming under this cost center, and you give some number. So this is a free form tag. But when comes to the define tags. So it's something which you have already defined and you are using that. So here I am just giving a tag as environment all add tag. So then if you go to the tags here, you will see it is defined, and you are seeing other two default tags which are coming by default by Oracle. So whenever you create any resource, you will get the name who is created the resource and at what time it has been created. So this is again a predefined tag which we saw in the tag namespace, which is already there. And then once you create a compartment, what all you can do with the compartment, you can create you can rename the compartment. Okay, if you don't want to use this name, you can click on rename compartment and do that. You can edit the description anytime if you want to do that, and you can move the resource. So move resources. So currently you are under the root compartment, which is the default compartment. So if you want to move this compartment to any other compartment, like if you want to move it to, we have an application compartment already. So if you want to move it to application, you can click on this application and you just select, say that I'm aware of the changes. If you have written any policies, it will be moved to the other compartment. So you know that, and you click on move resource. Now what will happen is this compartment, which is under the root compartment now, will be moved under the application. So now if you go to the application, and you will see the child compartments. Under the child compartment, you have the network compartment as showing as a child compartment, and you know that you don't want it to be here. So you can click on the action menu, which is the three dots here, and simply click on more resource. Or even if you click on the network compartment, you will be in that landing page of this. And from here, you can again do the same thing, move resource, and you choose compartment to go back to the root and say I'm aware and click on move resource. So I'm going back. I'm not, I don't want to be under the application compartment. And similarly, if you want to delete the compartment, like if you don't want a compartment to be in place, like here in this case, I don't want this application compartment, and you know that there are no resources. So you simply go to the application compartment and click on delete. So that will delete it, and you must remove all the resources from this compartment before you can delete it. That means if you have created any VCNs or any instances, servers under this application compartment, you first have to delete them and then come here to delete the compartment. After you click OK, the compartment enters a deleting state. And if a resource still exists in the compartment, the delete action fails. So if some other resources are still a part of this compartment, then the delete action will fail. So it's asking, are you sure you want to delete the compartment application? And if you are confirmed that nothing is there under this as an active state, so I know that there's nothing here. So I'm just deleting this compartment. So that gets deleted. If you go back, you see the status, it's getting deleted. It's showing as deleting. And after a while, you will see that it is terminated. And similarly, even I don't want this network compartment, so it's not as per my requirement. So I'll also delete this. Okay, so I'm deleting these two compartments. So I have a root compartment. Under root compartment, now I have something like manage compartment for PaaS. So this comes by default when you provision, and then you have the compartment which you have created, like compartment, network compartment. So let's go back to the sheet and create the other compartments also. So I have a security compartment. I'm creating it compartment for security resources. So it's up to you how you want to give the naming conventions. And then you select the parent compartment as root, and we add a namespace, which is it's an environment and it has all. So that's fine. And you create another compartment, and now you are naming it as prod compartment. and compartment for prod resources. And this will be under a root only. So this is fine. And I'm giving production all. And here tag value, I'm not, instead of giving all, I'm giving it as prod, because this is a EBS prod compartment. So, and I'm also adding one more tag. And now I'm saying it is an application as well. And when it is an application, it's a EBS application. So I'm also adding it's an EBS application for this. So, and then I'll create a compartment. And the next one is prod DB compartment. So this is under my EBS prod compartment. So what I'll do is, okay, I think it's not, yeah, it's created now. So you have EBS prod compartment. So I'll go inside this. And then you see something like child compartments, create compartment. So we'll create a child compartment under the prod compartment and name it as prod DB compartment. So this is EBS prod database resources. For EBS prod resources. So this is my parent compartment, which is EBS prod compartment. And here I'm giving the namespaces again, operations environment. It is a prod environment. I add the tag, I create operations, applications, and I'll say it is a prod EBS. So under EBS, I'll say it as I'll go with EBS, and I'll also go with another tag, which is a DB. So it is an EBS, and again I'm keeping it as a DB compartment. So I can identify it as an EBS application DB. So database used for the EBS application. So that is how you create compartment using the tags. So I think the key is already used here, so it's not allowing us. So let's use only the key as DB. Okay, so I have one child compartment which is created. I'll create one more child compartment, which is my prod app compartment for EBS application. And again, same thing, which I'm doing, adding multiple tags for the identification part. Okay, and finally, we'll just create a non-prod also and leave the rest of things for now. And this will be my root compartment, operations, tags, EBSS, and operations environment, which is in non-prod. So if we go back to and see from networking, and if you click on virtual cloud networks, so if you want to create something here, so as you saw yesterday, we have created a test VCN under the root compartment. So if you click on compartments, you see now you have the list of compartments got created. You have EBS prod, and you see there is you can expand this prod, and you again have two sub compartments like prod app and prod DB. And you have a non-prod compartment, you have network compartment, and you have security. And now you know that test this VCN comes under the compartment like network compartment, and you want to move this resource to the network compartment. So you can do that. You can click on test, or from the action menu, you can click on move resource, and then you select the compartment. So you want it to be placed under the network compartment. You click network compartment and click on move resource. So this test VCN will be just moved to your from the root compartment to your network. So to answer the question, other question, what Shiva you asked, even if you create a resource upfront, in a root compartment. Later, you can
Okay.
just move it to a different compartment.
Okay. And can I see whatever all the resources exist under one any compartment? How can we view that?
Okay, so if you go to the main menu from governance and administration, you have something like Tenancy Explorer. So you go
Okay.
to the Tenancy Explorer and you filter it by the compartment. So if you filter by resource type, if you want compartments,
Okay.
like here I have compartment, you filter it by compartments, and from compartment network compartment, if you want to go there, and I think you can do explore the resources under from the Tenancy Explorer. That is one way to see all the resources what you, or if you go to the instances, if you are looking for a particular instances and click on overview, there also you will see total instances, running instances, stopped, terminated. And similarly, if you go and want to see something like databases, like autonomous database, and click on if you click on overview under the databases, and here you will get the list of databases which are running. So something under the overview also, you will be able to list the resources. Okay, so we'll go back to the compartments. Yeah. So so this is what we have done. So we have created multiple compartments. And whenever you are creating any resource, like if you are creating a VCN now, so you have to make sure that you are in that particular compartment and then create. Or when you create, it will ask you where you want to create it. So there itself, you can select which compartment you want, and you can place it under that compartment. And if you are looking for some resource, like if you come to the root and see you are not able to find the test VCN, but because you have placed it under a different compartment, you are not seeing that resource here. So make sure that you are in the correct compartment in your tenancy, and then you will see that particular resource what you are created. So if we go back to the session, what we wanted to do is we have created the policy yesterday, and we edit this policy to the user so that he will only we will be restricting to this compartment level only. Let's go back and do that. So if you go to the policies, which is in identity and security, and then you have policy under the identity. You change to the root compartment. So policies, we always write it under the root compartment. So you make sure you're root. That's why if you are in some other compartment, you will not see the policies. And network is the policy which we have created yesterday. So click on network. So what we said is allow group network admin to manage virtual network family in tenancy. So instead of in tenancy, what we will do is we will say in compartment. In compartment, what is the compartment name we have given? It is network compartment. So you are editing the statement. So this particular group users who are in this part of this group will now be able to manage the network family in this compartment only. So he will not be able to create any resources in other compartments. So I have updated that. Let me take a Cognito window. So from private browser, I will use connect to the user. Otherwise, using cookies, it will not allow me to log in. So my username is this, which we have added to this group called network admin. And then, yeah, you are logged in the correct one. And then if you go to the virtual cloud networks, either you go with the pinned service or you go from network, anything is same. And here if I select my root compartment and see, you are seeing that I don't have any authorizations in under this compartment. Because earlier when we have policy saying that as per the tenancy, I used to have an access here, but now I have restricted to a particular compartment. And if I go to the compartment, if I just select the drop down, I'm only seeing the compartment, network compartment. I don't see any other compartment. So as a user, I don't even know that there is something like EBS prod compartment exists in the tenancy, because I don't have any control on that, because the policy is written in such a way that you are saying allow group, because you are giving some manage on top of this network family. That is where this group of users will be, we are seeing this compartment. Otherwise, you will not even see the compartment. So let's go to this compartment, and then you are able to see the test VCN which is already created. Or if you want to create a new VCN and say you are creating in compartment, and even in drop down, you see you are only able to see one compartment because this user is restricted to this compartment. Whereas the admin user, if he is trying to create a new resource, same thing like if I go and create a VCN, and even if I'm under the same compartment and create a VCN here and say test2, but here as an admin user, because I have complete access, I'm able to see all the compartments and I have access to manage any compartment resource. So I can place this VCN wherever I want. But this user, we are restricting the group which has the set of users, so that they will only use this compartment. So that is being taken, and we create some default CIDR range. We'll see in detail more about how you have to use these CIDRs and subnets in detail in the next sessions. But just to quickly see the access control thing, I'm just skipping all this part and creating the VCN. So limits were exceeded, VCN count request. I think this is something because of the limit of the tenancy which is reaching. But if you see under the VCN also, if I want to delete the VCN, I'll be able to do it because I have an access, so I can play with this resources as well. So I can delete all. See, I have the permission to delete, so I was able to delete. And then you can recreate them. So I'll give 10.0.0 itself and create. See, I was able to create the VCN. So that is how you can manage your compartments and the policies to restrict the users. So now, if you see the policy inheritance, like if you have written a policy on top of the compartment, like EBS prod, like if I say instead of the policy, I've written it here. So I go back to the network compartment. Here I'm mentioning it as network compartment, right? So here I'm changing this to, let's say, EBS prod compartment. Okay, so the moment I do that, that means I'm not able to see this anymore. I think I have to refresh this. And now you see the EBS prod compartment, and you also see the child compartments. So the policy you have written in the parent compartment is also allowing you to get access to the child compartments. So now if you go to the app compartment and you want to create a VCN here, you will still be able to create a VCN here because you have you have the policy for the parent compartment, and it is giving you access to your child compartments also. Maybe it will give a limit, but if I delete the other one, which is already created, then come back here and create VCN. So it's not yet released. See, I'm able to create under the app compartment, even though I have an access to the so that means if I have an access to the root compartment, I mean the parent compartment, automatically I'll gain the access to the child compartments also. So that is something like policy inheritance. So compartments inherit policy from their parent compartments. So if you have a root C1, C2, C3, policies that apply to the resource in compartment C1 are also applicable to C2 and C3. So that is what you're seeing here. And yeah, we have created a VCN in subcompartment as well, and we have tried to attach it. And we saw that it is also, you can also write it in this way, like if you want to allow it to C2, C3, and so on. So you can also write if you want to restrict. Now let's say if you have a child compartment here, and you want to only restrict to your compartment is here, like your network compartment is under app compartment. So what we do is we go to the compartments, and let's say that your network compartment is under prod app compartment. So I'm moving under the prod app compartment. So how it looks now is, if you go to the VCN, so if you see expand, you have one more child under the prod app. So your network compartment is now under EBS prod app, and then you have the network compartment. So if you want this user only access this compartment, so now I'm saying to mention this name. So how you have to create a policy is, so you create a policy to that nested compartment in this way, like if you are in the network compartment, edit this policy. So you know EBS prod compartment, and then you put a colon, and then you provide the child compartment, which is app compartment, and then you create a colon again, and then your network compartment is this, and then save the changes. So you're restricting, instead of, you know that if you give it to prod, you will also allow the access to all the child compartments, right? So if you don't want to do that, and you want to give access to only that child compartment, you will mention the hierarchy in this way, so that your user will only be able to see the access in such a way that he will not have access to the parent compartments. So if you see here, here he still see that the hierarchy is this, but he is not able to click on that. But he has access to the network compartment, and he can create a VCN here, and he can do anything here. If you see the access here itself, it is grayed out. He's still seeing the parent name, but he's not able to do anything under those compartments. So now you have written a policy to restrict this user group to only access this child compartment. So you are not giving any other access to him. So that is how you make use of this policy inheritance and make the users to use the compartment. So this is very useful, and which is decided upfront, like what compartments you have and what policies you have, and how your user groups will be created and how many users will be logging into the console. Mostly it will be the admins, like the network admins, maybe the storage admins, and then you have someone like the governance teams, like say there may be some auditors, there may be some someone from the compliance team, from someone from the security team who wants to log into the console, and you write the policies in such a way that each policy holds good for each user who is logging. So we will see some more examples on the policies, like how you will segregate in the real-time use case scenario. Like if you go back to the Excel, like how you are going to design in the next step, how you are going to design your groups so that your users will belong to these groups, and then we'll see what policies we will assign to that specific group and what is the actual use case of those groups. So any questions so far? Please feel free to let me know.
You were saying policies. What kind of policies, basically?
Policies, yeah. So this is a policy what we have written here, right? So this is a policy to allow or grant an access to the user. So if you are writing a policy, this policy is to allow that particular group of users to gain access to one of the resource, whether it can be a managed resource, like when we see tomorrow, like the syntax of the policy, and we discussed more about the policy, you will get more insights on that. But to just on a layman, if you want to understand, a policy is nothing but a kind of grants, or if you see in a database, you give a grant read to user on this table. So it's something like that. It's a policy here. You call it as a policy.
So the policy is against to the user level, right? Or,
It's
or
at the group level. So all the users are under the groups. So you create groups and you assign the users to a group, and your policies are written on the group level.
We want to give specific to the user only. Only one user can. See, when we are running node, right? When we want to give only one user set, only can edit like that. So we have to create separate group only for editing.
Yeah. You have to create a separate group for that user and place this user in that group.
So one component can assign multiple groups, right?
Yeah. You can assign one component to multiple groups, that you can do. So
how to attach the group here, or the login based it will be applicable?
It will be applicable by the login based. So once you got identified by the username and password, so this user will be placed in under the group, right? So there are some network group or admin group, whatever the group the user belongs. Based on that, it will see what policies are written on top of that group, and then you will get the access. So here we saw the example, right? So this user who is under the network admin group. So this user who is like Oracle Cloud 23, we are giving a policy, we are writing a policy saying that you manage network family in compartment, this compartment. So based on this policy, when he logs in to the tenancy, when he is logging into the tenancy, he's only able to see this compartment. And even if you go,
policies are predefined, or we can
no, there's no predefined policy. There's only one default admin policy which comes by default. All the other policies you have to define them as you want.
Okay. So it's like a roles and responsibilities.
Yeah. Roles and responsibility. In other way, if
Okay.
you say it's just nothing but a roles and responsibility for a user. So how you want to give roles, and you see by when he logs in, you see he's getting, you don't have permissions. Even you have the responsibilities you are looking at here, but if you click on those things, he will still not get something like you are not authorized, you don't have permissions for this. So because we have not given any granted any access to this user for these resources, we only have given something for the network family group. So which is a network family group is nothing but all the resources which are under this networking.
So roles and responsibility we have to define independently. On top of that, we have to create the policies, right?
Right. Yeah, so that is the idea of the policies, creating the compartments so that you segregate your resources. And on top of that, if you see the compartment here, I am doing the restriction. The access control is also I'm able to do because of the compartment. So in this example, because we have the nested compartments, my policy when I'm writing the access, when I'm granting the access to this compartment, okay, I'm in a different user. Yeah, I'm giving to this particular compartment. So here, compartments are used to segregate the access, so to give to maintain the access control, and compartments can be also used to do a cost analysis. So these are the two advantages you have if you are going with compartments. So yeah, so that is why it's a best practice to use compartments and to get listed what all compartments you will be using in your tenancy upfront before starting any foundation activities. So foundation activity in the sense you create your VCNs, and then you create your compute instances, and then you create your storage devices and attach them to the compute service. So before you start any core infrastructure services, you are starting provisioning them. So you do this foundation, and for your landing zone, you have all this in place as per your requirement for your organization, and this decide the naming conventions properly, and then create this compartments and tags, and then the next things. Okay. So let's catch up tomorrow in that way. In that sense, like tomorrow we'll see in detail like what is a policy, different kinds of policies. Here we just saw a sample thing like for a network family thing. So we'll see some more policies and how you can make use of the policy syntaxes using some where conditions, some complex policy queries we'll see, and then we'll yeah.
So when this integration will come, how to connect the applications, another application to application.
Integration in the sense like in which way you're saying?
Yeah, it's like the server component, server, right?
Hmm.
So I thought it's like a server kind of thing, OIC. Is it true?
This is OCI. This is Oracle Cloud Infrastructure. It's not Oracle Integrated Cloud. It's not OIC.
That session is 9 to 10.
Yeah.
That OIC, right?
Yeah.
But OCI, right?
This is OCI. So that is OIC.
Oh, okay.
So this is something on the cloud architecture where you are going to define your infrastructure. So you lay down your layer of your infra.
Okay.
Yeah.
Primarily actually looking for OIC.
Oh, okay.
Join both the courses yesterday.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. I will plan accordingly.
Okay. Yeah. All right then. Catch you all tomorrow. Make sure that you enroll your get enrolled yourself. I think there'll be a passcode attached to the session from tomorrow onwards.
Yeah, Hemant, I already enrolled
Yeah.
day before yesterday, but I did not receive any welcome email.
Yeah, I think I'll check with. I'll ask Prasad to
Okay, please.
check.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, then. Yeah.
Thank you.
Have a nice day. Catch you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.